you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. Pope Francis has renewed his appeal for prayers for those suffering due to war in the Holy Land. Addressing those gathered in St. Peter's Square for his Wednesday general audience, the Holy Father said of the present conflict between Israel and Hamas, quote, "There is no longer war, this is terrorism." Israel began its military intervention in the Gaza Strip after Hamas militants attacked their country on October the 7th, leaving over 1,200 people dead and 240 others taken hostage. Meanwhile, the Hamas-run health ministry reports that over 13,000 people have now been killed in Gaza, including women and children. The Pope's comments followed his meeting with both Israelis whose relatives have been taken hostage and families of Palestinians who are suffering in Gaza. Pope Francis expressed his anguish and his closeness to their pain and requested prayers for the people of Palestine and Israel. Elsewhere, Israel and Hamas have agreed a 4-day pause in fighting. The pause was expected to start on Thursday, but the Israeli government say it believes the deal will now go ahead on Friday. In the first phase of the pause, Hamas will release 50 hostages from Gaza, while Israel will free 150 Palestinian detainees. Meanwhile, Christian leaders in the Holy Land have defended the decision of the city authorities in Bethlehem to cancel public Christmas celebrations this year. The patriarchs and heads of churches in Jerusalem, which is an interdenominational council of bishops and pastors responsible for churches in the Holy Land, made their decision known on November the 10th via a joint letter. They say the cancellation of Christmas celebrations this year is a meditation on the spiritual meaning of the holiday amid bloodshed in the region. Religious services will not be cancelled. Bethlehem is situated in the Palestinian West Bank. The head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church has reiterated his appeal for the release of 2 Catholic priests who were captured by Russian troops in the southeastern part of Ukraine over a year ago. Father Ivan Levitsky and Father Bodin Jeleta, who are both Redemptorist priests, were seized in November 2022 from the Church of the Nativity of the Most Holy Theotokos in Berdyansk, which is a port city in the Zaporizhzhia region of Ukraine. In a video message from Kiev, Major Archbishop Shevchuk called upon the international community and various human rights organisations to do all within their powers to bring about the priests' release. Abortion is by far the worst human rights crisis of the last half-century. That was the message delivered at the United Nations this week by the president and founder of the pro-life organisation Live Action, Lila Rose. She was addressing a gathering of the Transatlantic Summit, which is organised by the Political Network for Values. It brought together more than 200 leaders from 40 countries around the world who have signed the New York Commitment, which seeks to restore the original meaning of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of its proclamation. Staying in the US, and attorneys for 2 national law firms have asked the United States Supreme Court to intervene in a legal case in Idaho regarding whether emergency room physicians can continue to be shielded from prosecution under the state's abortion ban. If the court were to grant the motion, ER doctors in Idaho would again be subject to criminal penalties and loss of medical licenses for performing an abortion unless it qualified under the state's exemption to save the pregnant mother's life. The legal advocacy group Alliance Defending Freedom announced it has filed an emergency application for a stay pending appeal with the High Court on Monday in conjunction with the attorneys from law firm Cooper and Kirk on behalf of the Office of Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador. Tribal violence has erupted again in the Indian state of Manipur. Since May of this year, the northeastern state has been the scene of conflict between the largely Hindu Meitei community and the Kuki tribes, who are a majority Christian. On Monday, 2 members of the Kuki community were shot dead in the Kangchup area of Manipur. According to local officials, the 2 were riding in a car when they were ambushed. One of those killed was a serving personnel with the India Reserve Battalion. Police officials announced that additional forces have been deployed in the area and a search is underway to arrest those involved in the incident. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops are to petition the Vatican to include Mother Teresa's feast day in the Church's general Roman calendar of saints. Last week, the bishops of the US voted overwhelmingly for the calendar edition at their fall meeting in Baltimore. Speaking to Fox News, Bishop Robert Barron of Winona, Rochester in Minnesota described Mother Teresa as, quote, the most obvious example of holiness in the world during her life. St. Teresa of Calcutta's feast day currently falls on September the 5th, the anniversary of her death. She died in 1997 at the age of 87 and was canonised by Pope Francis in 2016. Meanwhile, Bishop Barron's latest book, This Is My Body, A Call to Eucharistic Revival, has now sold over 1 million copies. The book was published in May of this year to coincide with the 3-year-long National Eucharistic Revival Initiative launched by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops upon the Feast of Corpus Christi in 2022. Bishop Barron says the purpose of his book is to help readers comprehend the sacrament of Jesus' body and blood so that they might have a greater, more abiding love for the Lord. Well, that's your latest headlines for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.